Hello, this is Christina Laster, and you're watching Managing Day to Day with me and National Parents Union. Hello, across America. Hello to all of my beautiful children. I hope you are well. I hope you're all thriving. And we are here again today to talk about how to get through this whole thing every day, one step at a time, one day at a time. And so I would like to say that we're kicking off the week with the magic of kindness. And I want you to tell me how your small acts of kindness have either helped someone get through this time, or your children are able to get through this time, or how someone else's acts of kindness have helped you get through this time. You're able to send a short video, a photo, a picture, whatever you be creative to me in a Magic of Kindness submission through my Facebook Messenger at Wise Society. That is with the @ Let My People Think One. You can also email me those submissions at christina@mpunion.org, or you can text them to 951-266-6911. So we want to hear from you. We want to see your beautiful submissions. I will be closing the submission for that on Friday, and I look forward to all of the submissions that I received. So today we have a great guest on to bring in another perspective on how we're managing through this whole situation right now across the country. And we have Juliette Lucero on. Hello, Juliette. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Isn't it great just to be alive? You know, we're breathing, we're up, we're happy, and we're good.
I know, and it's raining today in beautiful, sunny Southern California.
Right. I noticed that it's really cloudy, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll just manage through that, and that's fine. So can you tell people who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Juliette Lucero, and I have been actually working with charter schools since 2003. I provide employee benefits and insurance consulting to the charter schools. So I help them save money, help their employees get health insurance, which is very important right now. And I really support the charter schools since I've been working with them for 17 years now. And I also wanted to, give back. And last year, I decided to start a podcast for charter schools, because with all of the negativity you hear in the media a lot of times, especially around election year, there's a lot of negative press that the charter schools get, and there isn't so much positive press out there. So I really wanted to focus on telling the world about all the wonderful programs that these schools have to offer.
Right. And so how has that transition been since we've had these school closures and, you have to help employees, educators and people that their families are depending on healthcare, right? Like priorities. We all need to be well. Our health is important during this time. None of us should be having a fear not being able to take our children or ourselves to a doctor. I mean, it's a scary thought to be on the side where you're like, well, what do I do? So can you talk about how you're helping these educators and families through this time?
Yeah, I mean, luckily, the schools, even the charter schools, give really good benefits to their staff. So during this time, we're just trying to make sure that everybody that originally waived coverage, maybe for themselves or maybe their dependents, is covered. And what's nice is a lot of the health insurance companies, especially here in California, have opened up special enrollment periods.
Oh, so that's great.
So they're saying, hey, if you didn't enroll or you waived previously or your dependent waived, maybe it was too expensive, maybe the school doesn't cover dependents or whatever, now is your opportunity to get onto health insurance during the next week or two, because even on a group plan where it's normally you can only enroll once a year, because of what's going on right now, a lot of the carriers are allowing people to get enrolled. And then even on an individual basis, Covered California, for instance, has opened up their enrollment period, because normally you can only enroll during like a few months throughout the year, and now you can enroll through like the end of June.
Right.
California. And what's nice about the exchanges, or even nationally, a lot of the exchanges are opening back up. There's a lot of times subsidies involved, where if you have lower income, they'll help cover costs of the premium. And a lot of people have lost their jobs all of a sudden, or they're not getting any income in. So Medi-Cal in California, or Medicaid across the country, you can enroll in that year round. You can always enroll in that year round. So it's like, we're encouraging everybody, hey, if you don't have insurance, get something right now. Get anything. Yes. That could be your ticket into the hospital were you to fall ill during this crazy time.
Right. And, you know, we have to be well in order to take care of our children. And so, you know, that is absolutely a priority. And I agree. If you do not have coverage, please go, as Juliette said, and see if you can get some type of plan for you and your family. And, you know, my children have specialty like doctors, right? And right now I'm relying on those specialty doctors to be able to add service supports for them, whether it is, you know, whatever doctor that may be for your family, I don't know. But to lose that layer when there's nowhere else to turn, you have to go to the doctor, you know. And I want people not to be afraid to call and schedule their normal appointments, right? Because a lot of people that do have insurance, you're like, well, I don't want to schedule an appointment because we're not supposed to be, but some of those out right now, but some of those things are essential for the kids, right? And so talk about your experience with going to your normal scheduled appointments for your children.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the same boat. I was like, I don't want to take my baby to the doctor where there's all these sick people and, you know, he catch something, basically. But last week, he actually my baby had a low fever for a couple of days. So first I sent an email to my doctor, and then I ended up having a phone appointment with him. And then he said, well, we really need him to come in so I can look at his ears. He's prone to ear infections. So, you know, I asked some questions because he's also due for his 1-year shots in the next month. So I was concerned about that and bringing them in. And they said, look, we're primarily only seeing, you know, well babies right now. We're screening every single person that comes in. They're taking their temperature. So when I ended up going in last week, I felt a little better because it didn't sound like they were having super sick people come into that specific facility. They're sending them more to the hospital, not so much at the regular doctor offices. So when I went, they took my temperature, they took the baby's temperature. They asked if, you know, we were coughing or shortness of breath. They were asking us these types of questions. And it was a Kaiser, you know, doctor office. It was virtually empty. There was like nobody there.
And so that's amazing because my son has Kaiser too. And trust me, it's hard, you know, getting in. So you felt safe and like, you know, you were able to get your son checked out.
Yeah. And what they're doing is that once I checked in at the reception desk, they call up to the doctor to see if there's a room available. And if there is, they send you right up and they'll get you in the room right away. If there's not a room available, then they're actually having people go back to their car and wait. So they're really not having anybody waiting in the waiting rooms or anything. So it's probably safer now to go to the doctor than it ever has been.
And so what happened? What was the outcome, if you don't mind sharing, for your son? Because, I know a lot of people are afraid. I have allergies and asthma, and so do my kids. And that's something that we were already managing every day. So to all of you parents that have children with moderate to severe allergies that trigger asthma, I understand your plight, right? And that's my family. These are my kids. They have that. My daughter carries an EpiPen. We have all these other things that we have to be able to breathe to stay alive, right? And sometimes you cannot just call and get those medications refilled over the phone. The doctors literally want to check and make sure that they're able to see the progression or regression of the asthma, of the allergies, what's going on. Do we need to, do something more, especially if your child's on a steroid type of medication. And so it's been like on my mind that people are going to be afraid to schedule those appointments. So how are the kids going to get this medication that they probably already had regularly, scheduled appointments and got medication refills? But you were able to go in, get your son who had a fever checked out. And what did they say?
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was either going to be, he has like all these teeth popping out all at once. So I was like, it's either his teeth coming out or it's his ears, because he's prone to ear infections. He gets an ear infection like every other month. So it was double ear infection, which he had a runny nose for about a week and a half. And usually once that happens, he gets the ear infections, unfortunately. So, and something like that, the doctor has to look in their ears to see if they have the ear infection or not.
Yes. And they have to be able to prescribe, whatever medications that will help him get over
the right dosage too, because they have to weigh them and see how much they weigh, and especially when they're little babies, so they grow really fast.
So tell us about your husband's school.
Well, my husband runs and operates, he's a founder of 4 charter schools. The organization is called Real Journey Academies. So when he first started, the first school he started in San Bernardino was a middle school. That was the first school he started. And he progressively has added more schools. He opened his first high school in Highland. So this is his second year for the high school. And now he has 2 elementary schools, a middle school, and then the high school. And they're all seat-based charter schools. They're not virtual or anything like that. He actually got approved for the first charter school in Fontana, which is supposed to open next school year, but I don't know if that's going to happen now.
Well, it'll be distance learning, right? And so this whole concept of moving from seat-based instruction, and learning to now remote has, made all of us have to think differently and do things differently. Like, what is it that we're going to be able to do to thrive in this internet-based environment, right? And so, I wanted you to talk a little bit about that. Have you felt that the transition is one of those things that you navigate through every day? Or has it been just like, okay, we're good in one day, but,
a lot of the charter schools are, I think, already well equipped to do the virtual enrollment, and your kids do homeschooling and already set up for a lot of that stuff. But I know in his particular schools, a lot of the students that they serve in those areas are very low income. They're on free and reduced lunch. So they may not have computers at home or internet access. So there's all these extra challenges that you might not have, or a virtual school or homeschool or independent study school might not have. But when you're in these areas, one thing they still have to do is they still have to make the meals available at their school sites for pickup for the free and reduced lunch students. So that's something that they are still doing. They're still going to school. The employees are serving the lunches through like a drive-through scenario, or driving through and picking up the lunches. So the kids could still be fed, because a lot of times that the only meals they're getting is
Yes.
from school. So it's really important that the schools still provide those lunches and those breakfasts or whatever it is that they're providing. And, they've had to even have packets available of work because they might not have the technology. So they're sending home packets. I know a lot of the teachers at his schools are doing, the remote Zoom meetings and starting to do those type of things as well. But it's tough. I mean, this is a whole new ballgame for teachers and, parents and everybody.
And teachers who are parents too, right? I mean, we're all in this together and trying to sort through things, trying to lay a foundation, get a baseline. And so, it's interesting that there are still students that I know who have not had access to meals, who have not had access to technology, who have not had access to packets. They're trying to call the schools, call the teachers, reach out to anybody that they can to find out what is going on, and how do I get access to these things, right? And so parents, I applaud you for your patience and your mercy, but at the same time, I tell you to advocate on behalf of your needs, whatever that is. To those people that do not have health care, please utilize the services available to you to get health care, because right now, if you aren't well and something happens, it will be very challenging to get the medical attention that you seek without health care. Even though people aren't going to come right out and say that, I will, because I saw the young boy who in Lancaster died, and he didn't have health care. He got sent back home. And I just, my heart goes out to those people that need medical attention and are having a difficult time because they have no kind of health care at all. Your children need you to be there for them. We still need to continue to contact our medical professionals and find out, especially if you have a child that has, asthma, allergies. My grandson was receiving ABA services through Kaiser, right? And to work on sensory and his palate and what kind of foods he was gonna want to accept. And so what does that look like? What do those ABA services look like?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the health carriers are really trying to help out too. So like you said, get some sort of health insurance, but most of the health carriers have some sort of a teledoc or a virtual visit that you can do, either through over the phone or through a video. Some of the carriers had copays for these visits, and now they've waived the copays in lieu of what's happening. So it's like I'm getting inundated every single day by every health carrier, like, this is what we have available now. Here's this resource. There's a ton of information out there. And what's really nice, even some of the carriers have said that they are going to waive all copays and deductibles and coinsurance if you're hospitalized for COVID-19. So
we hope nobody gets hospitalized for COVID-19, but it's great to know that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you want to try to stay at home as much as possible, of course. So it's like, I always try to use, even I'm traveling around, I'm driving all over Southern California, I fly up north in a normal world, and, I may need to talk to a doctor. So a lot of times I'll just do a phone appointment because I'm on the road a lot. and it's really convenient for me. But now they've made it even so much more accessible, so much easier to do these virtual enrollments. Or they have like a 24-hour nurse line. It's like, start there. If
Right.
you're not sure, then most of your carriers have some sort of a nurse line or something.
Right. And I think that it is very vital that, we take a step back and look at the way that our medical professionals can provide some of the supports and services that we used to, maybe some of the children received at school, right? Ask them that. Like, my child was receiving physical therapy. My child was receiving occupational therapy. My child was receiving, all of these things. And now that's just suddenly stopped. How can you guys, as medical professionals, help to ensure that my child doesn't regress? That we're still good. And so health, well-being, safety, priority always. Priority always. The packets we can advocate for. Let's make sure you're healthy first, right? And so that is amazing that you are able to give that information. Can you tell people how they can perhaps locate you, especially those educators that may have questions, to figure out what is available to them?
The best way probably to reach me is through my email at jlucero@keenan.com, KEENAN.com. We also have a huge resource since my company works with primarily all the school districts, and I work with the charter schools. We have a huge resource on our website that's specific to schools and COVID-19, and our attorneys are like dissecting the laws daily as they come out from the federal government and the local state. So you could go to our website. If you're an individual or a family that needs coverage, you can go to keenandirect.com, and they will provide you with quotes and help you navigate if you qualify for Medi-Cal. And they can help link you to all of those resources as well. So, those are probably the best ways to reach me, and if you need help with health insurance.
That would be great. We want everybody to be well and thriving. And can you tell people a little bit about your podcast and how they can listen to that?
Yeah, and let me put one of my cool backgrounds on to support my efforts here. So it's called the Charter Chat Podcast. You can find it on iTunes or any of your, podcast apps that you use, or you could go to charterchatpodcast.com. I've been interviewing charter school leaders primarily, and it's really interesting because right now it seems like people are looking for alternatives when things go back to normal. I think charter schools are actually going to have more enrollment. I think every time I interview one of these schools, I learn so much. I learn about all these cool and unique programs that I never knew existed, and they're free. So you can go through all of my episodes, and it's like a different school pretty much each episode. Some are independent study, some are homeschool, some are seat-based, and they're all over. And I'm trying to expand, and mostly in California for right now, but I'm trying to expand to get more across the country. So I've had somebody reach out from New Orleans that wanted to be on the podcast. So now that everything's virtual, it's so much easier to interview people virtually for the podcast and get their story out so they could tell about all the unique programs that they do at their school.
And a lot of times, us as parents with children with special needs, we don't think that these programs and offerings are accessible to us, but I would like to reject that notion, right? Because they are available, and they are all unique, innovative, and available at the level where you want them to be and where your child is able to thrive, right? So my children are Springs students, River Springs Charter School, but we're on the homeschool program. And I am able to, utilize all kinds of different services and supports and instructional materials. And even there's a lending library. My daughter loves getting books from the lending library. So right now, that, there's kind of like, no, we're not, no one's shipping things. We're kind of trying to not have that big flood in the shipping and receiving, but you can get what you need. And so unfortunately we can't use the lending library and we can't go to the regular library, but at the same time, there's so many great things that I have access to. And so I don't want parents to think that, well, I have a special needs student and they're not going to be able to thrive in this environment, because that is not true. And I like to debunk that all the time. How do you feel about
that? Bullying is a big factor sometimes for students, especially if somebody has special needs. So if they're getting bullied at a regular traditional school, maybe you need to try something different. And there are a lot of options. There's a lot more options than when we went to school today. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so thank you so much, Juliette, for coming on. And as you see, she has the Charter Chat podcast. Check that out. You can hear from those experts in that realm. And also Keenan, you said Keenan.com, right?
Or KeenanDirect.com is the individual website for individuals.
KeenanDirect.com. If you have a doubt or a question about what kind of health care you can receive, go there. Always check and see if your state Medi-Cal is enrolling. Wherever you're at, make sure that you have health care coverage and that you and your family are thriving. Don't assume that just because someone has a runny nose or a fever that they have COVID, because as you can see, her beautiful baby only had an ear infection. I've had a runny nose before this COVID pandemic, and it's because of allergies, and it is allergy season. So you guys don't, when I go out, don't stare at me like I have COVID, because my nose was running before this. But, just continue to maintain your health and well-being and your safety, because we want you all to thrive. Remember that this week we're kicking off the Magic of Kindness. You are able to give those submissions to me at Wise Society, or you can put the @LetMyPeopleThink1, or you can email them at Christina@npunion.org, or you can text them at 951-266-6911. We want to hear from you. We want to make sure that you're thriving and you're well. Hello, and America's children. We will see you again tomorrow on Managing Day to Day, same time, right here at National Parents Union. Thank you very much, Juliette.
Thank you, Christina.